Hey everyone, my name's Peter. I'm the co-founder of Courtaid. I did this presentation a couple weeks ago, and so I'm suggesting I put it on YouTube. So this is that. We are an easy to use legal research platform. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about the AI space, what it means to be an AI startup, what we do, where we are, and then I'll show you a bit of a demo at the end. So we've been around since the end of 2023. We're a Microsoft startup. We're also part of the Law Tech Hub by Landers and Rogers, which means we've been getting a lot of feedback from them over the last 5 or so months and incorporating that into the app to build this out. And we're a UTS startup based in Sydney. So since launching so we started development at the end of 2023 and we launched in May 2024. We're now in Australia, New Zealand, and UK, but Australia is our primary market. Across all 3 regions, we have 2 million documents. In Australia, we have about 500,000. We've answered 250,000 queries, and we have 16,000 users currently utilizing the platform, which is pretty awesome. Now, what is AI? So this is a very big question, and it's important to set everything up for the rest of the presentation. So at the end of the day, AI is a statistical mathematical model. It's a predictive model. It is trying to predict and generate something based off training data. And I'll give you an example of this. Everyone thinks that AI, or a lot of people suddenly got impacted of AI in 2021 when ChatGPT came to market, and it was just effectively a revolution. And then there's everyone rushing towards it. Reality is AI, machine learning, as it was typically called, has been around for a very long time. Back when I was in Microsoft in 2017, there was a project going on in Microsoft USA where they were trying to identify foxes. And this was to do with pest control. And to do so, they were using machine learning, where we would get still images of the foxes in the wild, and it would be a manual process for some people to go through and tag the still images. If this is a fox, this is a dog, this is a bat, and then based off that training data, thousands and thousands and thousands of images, that suddenly you could use that to then classify pictures and count how many foxes there were in a certain area. Now, this worked quite well for one section of the US, and then they took the same model and they used it in another section of the US, and it completely failed and took months to figure out what went wrong. For example, the picture on the left could be the training data, and the picture on the right could be the other region. Now, you can probably spot the difference. One has snow and one doesn't, and all the training data didn't have snow. So suddenly the AI, or the black box that's been made, is looking for a fox standing on snow to be recognized as a fox. And that really comes down to the training data and the statistical models. Is if your data set's poor, you're going to end up with some big issues, which is why it's very important to keep checking these models as they come out. Now, what does it take to build an AI or to create an AI? At the end of the day, if you want to build something world-breaking, revolutionary, you need billions and billions of words, websites, data, which is why there's a lot of copyright infringement stuff happening in the US in the courts right now. You need hundreds of thousands of graphics cards and compute to effectively generate to be able to train these models. An incredible amount of power, which is why some of these companies like Meta, even Microsoft, are talking about buying solar powered plants or nuclear plants to help power the data centers. The scale of this is insane. And you, of course, need the tech, the smartness, the person behind a lot of the stuff, which is why there's contracts going out for hundreds of millions of dollars for companies trying to poach other people. And you need funding, a lot of funding, $100 million plus in funding. And then when you grab all of that together, you can create your black box, which is your AI model with all those inputs. You create the black box, but also this works as AI is a black box and you're putting an input and getting an output. Now, The only companies in the world that can currently do this is, we all probably know OpenAI, but then of course Google, Claude, Meta, DeepSeek, Grok, and that's because they have the resources and they have the funding to do this. And this is really important, especially in the legal tech space, where if any company that's saying they're a legal tech AI company, or any company reality that says they're an AI startup, they're using these models, the same models that everyone else has access to. So we're using, for example, OpenAI models, but then it's the data and how you use them on the platform to create value for your customer. And it means that it's leveling the playing field in the sense that now you no longer need OpenAI. You no longer need billions and billions of dollars to generate a model to then be competitive in market, because you can use one of these models and then adapt it to whatever's being used. So the enterprise space, suddenly a startup can compete with the enterprise space. So what can AI do and what it can't do? It's very, very good at something called embeddings and contextual search, which is finding judgments that are similar. And it's very good at that, and it's kind of been proven on this space. It's very good at summaries, but there is a risk that can over summarize something and miss out key things, especially if you ask the summary to be too small. So that is definitely a risk. And it's good at semantic search, which is the contextual search, and the ability to search through thousands of these things very, very quickly. It's very good at. What it doesn't do, what it's not so good at, is it doesn't actually know these things. It doesn't know facts. It doesn't have a law degree. It's just based purely on the training data, and it's based off the data around the training data. And it doesn't necessarily have current up-to-date data sets. For example, OpenAI models may be trained on data from 2024. And that data primarily is US data, not Australian data. So if you do use ChatGPT, a lot of the time you'll be using searches like Bing search to try and find information as it knows it doesn't know it on Bing or what's available through Google. And that becomes really important, is trying to keep the database up to date. So what do we do? So part of this is keeping everything up to date. We look for public judgments, public legislation, rulings. We grab those public judgments effectively daily, and we process them. And we process them by pulling out insights, pulling out connections between cases, working out how the case went, and what that means, and also doing embeddings, which will allow us to find connections easily and allow our search. All of this gets put into our vector database, which allows for our enterprise search. So it's a continually updating model to allow you to be able to chat to the documents extremely quickly, find the right documents and find the right judgments extremely quickly. And we're using an enterprise search engine on the back end, and we're hosted on Azure with enterprise security, Microsoft Azure, as a Microsoft startup. And then from your perspective, you come to us and you may ask a question or talk about a situation, and it will be able to find you similar judgments and what happened in those situations. And it will do that by taking your question, processing your question into search terms, grabbing the top 10 documents or chunks, and then summarizing all that together and giving you an answer cited back to the original judgments, which you can always trace back to. So where we're trying to sit is mid-market, and the top end of town, you have some major enterprise solutions that have been around for a very long time, 40 plus years, and they have law reports, which we cannot get. They're their own generated reports that they license and they sell. But they charge upwards of $400 per month per license, which is a eye-watering situation if you're an individual going out as a lawyer, or if you're a small practice or mid-sized firm. Suddenly it's a lot of money for a lot of those licenses. We sort of sit mid-tier, where our pricing starts from $30 up to $100 a month, depending on severity of usage. And then, of course, there's the free ones, which are the open source projects, the free government searches, but they're very limited. You don't necessarily have the AI to help you. Generally, they're text-based searches. So mid-market is where we sit. Now let's jump to a demo. You can actually go to Courtaid.ai and you can go straight into it, or you can head to this and it will take you directly to the website. When you hit the website, app.courtaid.ai, you hit this page here. And down here, you actually notice there's the selection for the country. Automatically, it should put you into Australia unless you specifically ask to be somewhere else. And now here is a few things that I think would be pretty interesting. You got filters, which is something that's missing from a lot of these chats. And this is because we have an enterprise search engine on the back end. So you can filter down to the exact states that you want, or perhaps you want to filter down the actual document type if you only want to talk to judgments, legislation, or even the specific court you want. And then you got the ability to chat or search. Let's give you an example of chat first. So chat will grab, similar to chatting to like ChatGPT, you can put your question in layman terms, and it will grab your question, do the search in the back end, grab the top 10 relevant chunks of information through the embedding that I was talking about, and then give you a pretty full answer coming out of it. And then based off these, you can of course keep talking. You can type whatever you want down here. You can export it out as well as a PDF or a Word doc. And you can, of course, keep chatting if you want. But if you want to check these sources, you can click on sources there or click on sources here. And you'll see some source information on the right here. Now, this is quite important because I generally recommend using the chat to get an idea about a law area and then go deep on a case or judgment, or pick the top judgments or legislation that you want. So that's, for example, for this one, let's go a bit deeper on this. This is Federal Court of Australia. And you can go into PDF chat. And what this will do, context is really important. Say in chat, you only get the top 10 chunks of information. While in PDF chat, you're talking to the whole document. So you can actually talk to, and as you talk and ask questions, it will actually auto-highlight sections of the document and jump to sections accordingly and match it based off that, which will give you a much nicer experience. And this is something that's, of course, happening in the AI space, is to try and minimize hallucinations. Part of minimizing that is being very defined in the context that you give AI. And this is a very good way of doing it. It's up to you how broad you want to be, or you can go very specific. And then if you want to sort of take the medium ground, if we go back here to the sources, perhaps there's a few of these. What was my original question? Cases relating to Australian contract interpretations. Let's grab that. And let's go into here and let's actually save a bunch of these cases into a project. So I've created the project now, and let's just save a few cases into it. So a project folder will give you a limited context as well. So now, instead of talking through all my data, I can be a lot more controlled. Now I've got 3 documents in here that I've identified could be important. I can also upload my own documents. An example of this would be if someone has a lease agreement, perhaps they want to upload the lease agreement and then attach like the Retail Act or other acts like that, and then talk to that all together. And you can, of course, go to Chat PDF for all those. What do these documents have in common? And we pretty much do it off consumer basis. So the amount of queries will go down as you use it in the different chat modes. But here now I'm just literally just talking just to those documents, which is very powerful. And then I can go into history and I can see my history for chats and my history for documents, which are documents that I've opened and chatted to accordingly. And I can, of course, star all those so I can find them quickly later. So that's for chat and star. So very easy to sort of navigate. So I'll head back to new chat now. So definitely check it out. It's freemium, so it's free to try. You can sign up, you get 5 queries free off the bat. And then when you decide to upgrade, this is the pricing in app, which is from $29 up to $99.99. And we have no lock-ins, except of course if you do yearly, then that's a commitment for 12 months. But a lot of these enterprise customers, enterprise companies, they try and lock you in for several years. And you can just do monthly if you'd like as well. So, and we'd love some feedback. But yeah, this was hopefully a little bit useful for you guys, a little bit of a landscape of AI plus a bit of demo at the end. So check it out at Courtaid.ai. Thanks, guys.